I've been doing my best to keep up with the Assassin's Creed Shadows news, Ubisoft's newest entry in the long-running stealth action series. I've read all your criticisms and feedback about the game. I've seen the drama and nerd rage, and I took it upon myself to pick up this game for review and judge it based on all the feedback I've seen from various anime avatars who paid attention in history class. So whether Yosuke's a samurai or not, whether watermelons are being sold during the wrong season, or maybe some Japanese text isn't accurate, I'm not sure. However, I can tell you that every bone in my body wanted to take that feedback seriously, but while playing and I'm being honest, I just didn't care. From a game development standpoint, Assassin's Creed Shadows is a masterpiece, and that's evident in the first hour of gameplay. Now, from a narrative perspective, the experience is even better, highlighting the most well-paced open-world active adventure game released in this modern era. What's more impressive is how unique the game feels when compared to the other entries in the series. If this is the future of open-world games, Assassin's Creed Shadows has set an exceptionally high bar. To get the general preamble out of the way, I played on PC with the GeForce RTX 4080 and everything ran beautifully. I didn't encounter any game-breaking bugs during my playthrough, just a few oddities here and there, but nothing that pulled me out of the experience. Sure, enemy AI can be cheesed just like any other stealth action game, but the developers added elements like creaky floors and multiple stealth routes. This slowed me down enough when I wanted to remain undetected, so I rarely saw enough enemies acting haphazardly. I can't speak for console performance, but if anything's like the PC version, it'll be solid. For audio, I chose the Immersive mode, which has Japanese voice acting, and I can't recommend it enough. It amps up the atmosphere so much that I honestly think anyone who's even remotely curious should try it out. Trust me, it's worth it. Assassin's Creed Shadows is a story of vengeance that evolves far past those themes. The opening highlights Yasuke's first encounter with Oda Nobunaga before the story shifts to a young shinobi, Naoe. What's interesting about this change in perspective is how the writing takes its time to establish Naoe's characterization. It'll be hours before you assume the role of Yasuke again, but his presence in Naoe's personal quest seems to find them unknowingly crossing paths. The pacing in the first 10 hours of this game is immaculate. I felt fully present and had a clear understanding of the situation. Sure, this is an action game, but the bloodlust is first controlled and baited out as we witness Naoe's upbringing through flashbacks and learn how to gain a seat at various tables using political tactics that must first be understood. This theme of knowledge and invisible threats of information is commonplace throughout the experience. Players will add scouts to their growing community, which are needed to follow clues that lead to objectives. Further, saving citizens can lead to increasing your net of rumors that highlight secret points on your map for resources. This also bleeds into the various collectibles within villages that players must interact with to gain knowledge points that unlock access to new skills. It all works seamlessly together and makes sense within the concept of the game. Even the scouting system, one you'd expect to grow tiresome when you're just trying to find your target, became a highlight of the experience as it matched the ever-growing rise of influence that Naoe has over her hidden clan. Yasuke's impact on the story is significant. His presence is never wholly accepted at first, but the commonalities and sins he and Naoe share bind them together in a familiar path. It's an incredibly impactful experience as you witness their relationship grow, all while they tackle their personal struggles and come to terms with a brutal reality that comes to light. In the context of history, I did my best to look up characters and events and was wildly surprised at how Naoe's presence made sense in these moments. I applaud Ubisoft's writing team for portraying a convincing timeline that fits into the Assassin's Creed universe. They really lean into connecting the series further with the Animus hub and key plot points that progress the core story. I rolled credits at 56 hours, and there's still plenty left for me to return to and explore. From a narrative standpoint, the story takes its time with its supporting cast in ways that many others overshadow. They give purpose to even simple quest givers, some of which lead to new allies and access to assistance in battle. Characters like Yaya are even swayed by responses and dialogue, giving each player some agency over the narrative. That said, there are options to turn this off and play through a canonical version of the game. However you play and whatever you spend your time doing is consistently rewarded with new story elements that are constantly being tracked in the objective menu, which ties all of your significant targets and quest lines together in an easy-to-follow way. It's incredibly digestible to plan out your approach to the game, whether you want to mainline the story or spend time clearing milestones and side objectives. It all feels natural while playing. By the end of the game, you can see every point of its journey and every significant chapter to remind you of your entire adventure. I will say that those who wish to push forward are in for some challenge. The regions divide the game's difficulty level, but you aren't really kept from going wherever you want once the world opens up. That said, higher level enemies will easily take out your characters in a single hit, but if you're good, you can probably chip away at their health while also evading various attacks. What I'm saying is that this combat system is best experienced by those who take time to understand the pacing and timing while building up their knowledge of enemy telegraphs. I'm not telling you how to play, this is just coming from someone who is humbled by these encounters time and time again. Still, there are multiple difficulty levels to choose from, so you can make it easier or more challenging for your skill level. Playing on normal difficulty provided a balanced experience, and I never felt like I was too overpowered. Your approach to gameplay will vary depending on whether you're playing as Naue or Yasuke. When I was first able to control Yasuke, I had to readjust my approach to combat because he isn't the stealth assassin that Naue is and doesn't have access to her nimble abilities. Still, he comes at a time in the game when I felt myself wanting to be a bit more powerful, and the experience was only elevated by his absolute power. Each of these characters plays drastically different, which is a shame because they aren't working together more seamlessly in fights. There are ways to take down enemies cooperatively, but going to a menu and switching manually gets tiresome, even though the loading screen is brief. Utilizing other allies is interesting because they basically act as summons that can distract or clear out enemies. While you obtain skill points as you level up, some abilities or tools are tied to story progression and knowledge. Gaining knowledge points paces your advancement within the skill tree, forcing you to explore environments as much as you spend fighting. It's an outstanding balance and a relief because it manages exhaustion over long play sessions. Even elements of the game like the series staple towers come as enemy bases or environmental milestones. There's plenty of variety in the game's side quests, so I can't really complain about the more annoying systems, such as the meditation minigame that goes a little too long. When it comes to the menus, I really appreciated how clean and intuitive everything feels. Navigating the skill trees and inventory is pretty straightforward, and each screen clearly shows what resources you need for upgrades. On top of that, there's a robust accessibility menu with tons of options. I didn't get a chance to test them all, but if you're curious about text sizes, button remapping, or visual filters, you'll likely find something that helps tailor the experience to your needs. There is gear you can purchase with rare in-game currency. It's not essential, but it looks pretty cool, and you can definitely show off your stealth flair if you collect enough of that currency around the world. It doesn't feel intrusive, and I never got the sense that the best equipment was locked behind a paywall or anything. From a broader standpoint, Shadows shares some DNA with past entries like Assassin's Creed Origins or Odyssey, especially in its open world approach and tiered enemies. Yet it shifts the focus more heavily on stealth and narrative pacing, leaning on a historical timeline that feels meticulous in detail, much like the earlier games did in their respective settings. There are plenty of videos out there that will break down the combat of this game, so I'd hate to explain every nuance of it, just so we can keep the review as brief as possible. On the surface level, going prone changes everything. Every system in the game lends itself to a creative means of enemy takedowns. In the opening hours, getting caught is a bit more detrimental, but as you learn new abilities, you gain access to distractions and smoke bombs, or you could just switch to Yasuke and tank your way through every battle. I never felt invincible, and resources aren't exceptionally easy to come across during battles. Before entering any fight, some scouting is needed. There's an eagle eye mode that allows you to see enemies and treasure, along with plenty of possible infiltration techniques. You're free to approach these battles as you wish, but the bigger castles require you to defeat the samurai guards to unlock the most valuable loot. This is something you can return to, but I could really never resist trying to take on these powerful enemies whenever I saw them. I also appreciated how collectibles and resources aren't completely littered across every town. Instead, they're more confined and used to build your base. There are even ways to utilize limited scouts to smuggle large quantities of items at the end of each season. Building the base becomes another arm of the experience, with progression tied to the creation or upgrading of specific buildings. It's approachable, yeah, without being overly complex, and if you want a truly zen hideout, you can spend hours perfecting every detail. Plus, weapon crafting and upgrading add unique buffs to your gear too. The ease of navigating all these systems can't be overstated. I was never lost or confused about what I wanted to do next. Now, let me talk about the best part of the entire experience: the environment. Assassin's Creed Shadows is a gorgeous game. I don't know how this team pulled off the scale and lush plant life of this era, but I was wildly impressed. The open world isn't compact by any means, yet the natural flow of roads and pathways leads you to interesting points without feeling forced. Veering off the beaten path almost always rewards you with a unique quest or collectible, fueling that sense of discovery. Then the seasons shift and you're treated to the best weather system of any modern era game. There's nothing like emerging from a snowy forest into a vibrant spring village or storming a castle under pouring rain. I actually had to remind myself to close my mouth because my jaw was dropped. Assassin's Creed Shadows is a marvel of game design and narrative writing that not only elevates the series, but pushes the open world formula forward. It streamlines its many systems, encourages genuine exploration, and paces its narrative so that every milestone feels meaningful. Thanks to the lengthy review embargo, I didn't have to rush through, which only enhanced my appreciation of the game's intricate details. I approached this as a casual player and left feeling like a skilled assassin. Whether you're drawn in by the historical drama, the stealth mechanics, or simply want to roam a sprawling, gorgeous world, Shadows is worth your every minute. For newcomers and series veterans alike, this entry proves that Assassin's Creed still has plenty of surprises, and a truly high standard for whatever comes next. Noisy Pixel is giving Assassin's Creed Shadows a 9.5 out of 10. Thank you for watching. Noisy Pixel is a group of gamers who work hard to deliver news, reviews, previews, and more. Please subscribe to keep up with all of our future content, and please go to patreon.com/noisypixel to help support independent game journalism. Thanks again, and I'll see you on the next time, nerds.
Noisy Pixel.